Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's March 7th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And quick look at the daily chart. As we talked about, we rarely get more than a couple of days um, of selling in a row lately, and then it's back to the races higher. And once again, we're making a new high today. This market just keeps marching forward. It looks like next thing you know, we're going to be at 5,200 or higher. It looks like so. Um, we do seem to be stuck on the green trend line, but we're bouncing on the lows off the midline for this darker, smaller channel in here. So um, it looks like they're both still in play. We'll see if we can push through this green one or not, but it looks like they're both in play at this point. But a big bullish day overall with a new high in place, and we closed pretty close to the highs as well. So um, we'll flip over to the intraday chart and you can see it is mostly all the way up. I think the only trades I marked today, they're all blue, so blue or green, but I don't think there's any shorts in there. So let's flip over and take a look and go through the trades. It is Thursday, so this will wrap up our week. If you're new to us, we don't do chart lessons on Fridays. I try to get out of here early and get 1 day break. It's a lot of work to do these videos every day. Even though they're only 20 to 30 minutes long, it takes me an hour to sometimes an hour and a half, depending on how much price action and so forth there is, to mark up the chart and do the video, process it, and upload it. So it's a little bit of work. So I used to do them 5 days a week, but I'm only doing them 4 now because it's just got to be too much for me. So and I like to get out of here by noon on Friday, so I've started doing that. Try to get out of here by noon and take a break over the weekend. So anyway, let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart and take a look and go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day up and we'll wrap this week up. Okay, as you can see, a lot of volume today, a lot of price action. I had to really scrunch it up tight to get it all in there. A lot of trades, mostly all uphill. I mean, it got a little choppy here, but it's still all uphill for the most part. There's some corrections in here, but I looked to see if we could get a different channel than what we had here. Maybe up here later you could get something going, but really you needed to play these. So I tried to find something that fit all day, but I just never found anything that looked right to me. So I just kept drawing them like this, and that's I think that's the best way to play it as well. So um, gives you a better idea of where you're going shorter term than sometimes I mean, what this is a spike in channel up. And generally you can find some kind of larger channel that all this is working in, but I couldn't find anything that was worthwhile that really helped you. So if you saw it a little different, if you found something there that fit on your chart, then it doesn't, just because it's not on mine doesn't mean it's not right. I just think this is easier to trade going in a little tighter anyway. So but there's a couple of news items at 7:30 and 9 this morning, so you had to be a little patient early on and wait. Let's zoom on in here and we'll get through these trades. So the thing is, you had a break here. That's clearly a convincing break outside, then a new high, and then we corrected. And so I think that is the middle of the pattern, and this is a new pattern. And again, it was like a little spike up that went into a channel. So, but 7 o'clock came right in here. No entry really right there. Bounces, and that's going into the news at 7:30. And so it really settled down by here. I like this one that bounces right off. Notice you got a new high and you're working down and you get a first entry and then it breaks lower and turns back up. So that's a second entry long. I wouldn't take that on the engulfing bar because you're in this channel. But we did already break out, but it held there a couple of bars. But when this closed outside after it bounced right off the key entry point and didn't get back down here, I like going long above that on that. It's still a second entry there. It really triggered on the engulfing bar, but you can still wait on this bar if you like it. And as strong as this thing is, of course, I'm going to take that every time. Right off the key entry point is second entry long. Quick, easy move. Break of that little short-term channel, move to a new high, and then you correct it. And you can see you got a close outside and a new low all in one on this bar right here. And it's also a first entry, second entry. It takes off. There's actually a failure here, but that looks a little bit too congested for me. If you took it as a failure, if you're an experienced trader, maybe. I'm not crazy about it, especially when we've had all these other good entries so far. But then you run to a new high, and then you're just chopping along here. This is too congested here to go short, even though you got a break in new high, because a lot of times you get another leg up. It didn't happen this time. It tried to go up several times, and then suddenly you have a little channel working down, close outside, move to a new low, and then we get another little spike up, and we go into this new channel. Unfortunately, there's no entries down here that I like to kind of get you into this move here, and we're going into that news. This is Powell testifying, so I don't pay a whole lot of attention to that. I went ahead and marked it out, but I think you're fine to trade here if you find something you like. I just don't see anything I like here anyway. So you're just kind of chopping along. And notice you get 3 tests down here with plenty of room to scalp out. I like going long. There's a short right here, but you made a lower high, a lower low, lower high, lower low, and then higher high. And we're in a range with this higher high here. The fact that you're probably, I mean, we've been trending up most of the day. There's a lot of resistance up here at this point. So that's tempting. If this would have made 3 equal highs, I think you could justify that as a triple test. But here it just looks like a range. There is enough room to get out. But with that higher high there, I mean, this is one that, you don't really have the triple test. So you're just playing the range. And with that making that higher high, I just think it's a little risky. And if you just wait 3 or 4 bars later, you get a triple test down here, right off this possible trend line that kind of confirms it. Plenty of room to get out. And this thing takes off, and look at it go. And that turns out to be a great setup. There's a little breakout pullback long here, but you can't take that. Then you get a break, move to a new high. Then you try to go lower 3 times. You get a triple test there. Really, you could almost call it a quadruple test, but it's clearly a triple test at least. Good signal bars, just enough room to get out. I like going long there. And that's all you'd have got out of that was a scalp. And then we're just chopping sideways. You break out here. There is a failure, but don't go short here because we're playing the green channel. And it could come back to the midline and take off. There's no shorts in here. Unfortunately, there's no chance to get long, and it runs all the way up here. And it starts finding resistance, then turns down. And we bounce off the trend line here, but it's not, their signal bar is no good. And then the next thing you know, we have a break here. And you don't want to go long while you're in this channel. So just kind of sit tight and you wait for the break. And then it moves a couple of legs down to a new low, and then it bounces. Unfortunately, there's no chance to get long down here, no setups or anything. This is just an inside bar. If this would have made an equal low or a lower low and turned up that far away from the EMA, you probably could trade that. But notice the new high here, and then you drop down, you get a first entry, and you come back. And because you make that, I may not have made this clear in the last video, and somebody asked me, how is that the second entry? That 2-bar match in low, you can count that as a new low. But you still have to have the lower high if you're trying to call it a second entry, or if you were going short, it'd have to be a higher low or whatever. But you got the lower high, so when it breaks above that, that's a second entry, because this is like a test back or a break back. When it makes that 2-bar matching low, you can just assume it ticked 1 tick lower or whatever. And so when it breaks above that, it's second entry long. So I like that one. Runs back up to the highs, comes back, gives you a first entry, second entry. Great signal bar, another easy second entry. This one's maybe a little tougher for new people, but we've had several real easy ones in here. Runs up, comes back. That's just the first entry, and we didn't make it to the highs either. Uh, and then again, we don't make it, and next thing you know, we're trending lower. So you get your break of this channel here, convincing break, and now you're trending lower. No reason to go short, and then suddenly you've got to close outside the new low, and then you're trying to go higher again. This has moved too far for a higher low, in my opinion. Then next thing you know, it's obvious we're in this trend, or I'm sorry, range, and you haven't tested this low enough yet to trust it. But then you get your triple test, and you still closed inside. It did go a little lower, but it's off this trend line. It confirms it. It closed back inside the range. I like going long there. And you can see the smart traders like that too. Look how it, boom, it jumps up real fast. And then there's a first entry, second entry. So I was not here during lunch, so I don't know if this broke lower. I'm assuming it broke lower and turned up. And if it did play out that way, if you took that as a second entry buying on the engulfing bar when it went through, then I would be okay with that. I'd probably, I mean, you could probably even mark that blue. But if it broke higher first and came down and then turned back up, I'd skip this because this looks congested. And you can see the next bar didn't really do much. It ends up going higher because this is a strong trend day with a lot of volume. But depending on how that played, which I'm not sure because I was not here during lunch. So, but it is a second entry long. And if it broke lower first and then turned up and went out, you could trade. I don't think I would wait till this closed because there's too much stem and you got to go long up here right into the highs, and it's making a lower high the last two times. So, and then it really doesn't break above it because of that bar. I sure wouldn't go long above it. So if you didn't take the engulfing bar, there's no trade there. Keeps chopping up and it comes back to the trend line again, but again, no setup. This bar's too bullish. It's just the first entry. And then we finally run all the way to the other side and you come back first entry. And so when it breaks above there, it's a second entry long. The signal bar is close, but I think that closes in the upper 1/3. And it is a second entry. It is off the key entry point. There's also a triple test across there. I didn't draw that. There's several reasons to like that trade. And you could draw it on across here, but it doesn't end up mattering because notice how you're making a lower high here each time. You wouldn't want to trade anything off that line any longer. So past here, but notice you got a 1, 2, 3 triple test. You got a new high here. So first entry, second entry is two legs back to the trend line EMA. Decent signal bar. So I like that one. And lo and behold, it gets just enough to get a scalp and turns down. So that's why we scalp for 4 ticks. Because we, on second entries and these powerful entries, even if you're wrong in the final direction, you're usually going to get your scalp. And if you go for any more than that, you got burned right there. And then we're just chopping sideways. I don't see. I didn't mark this short, but with all those turn downs right there, I think you could play that with such low risk. I mean, there must have been a huge order that filled right there or something, because I mean it's 2 ticks, so 2,000 ticks and only a 2-tick bar form that. So if you could take that trade, I didn't mark it, but I mean we're in a downtrend here, and that's clearly, I mean 2 ticks. I mean it's worth risking as long as you got room to scalp out, which you do. So if you took that trade, I'm okay with it. I didn't really mark it because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, but it's just because it's a range, and the range just works all the way over to the trend line and then turns down. Unfortunately, you don't get a setup at the trend line to catch this great move. Just no setup there. So maybe if you had something different on your chart, but I got a big, huge doji type bar right there with no body or whatever. And this thing creates an overshoot, runs down, then creates an overshoot of this secondary channel, which usually leads to a reversal. And sure enough, you make a high or low here, still way away from the EMA. I like going, if it breaks above that, I like going with it. Comes back here, and you get a first entry, then a second entry. I didn't mark this as too congested, so look at all the sideways bars. It didn't break higher there, so you end up with 3 bars that don't break higher, and then it really looks congested. And then I doubt this one just skipped. Once it finally does break higher, it just skips right over, so you probably, that probably went too fast for you to get in. So there's just no trade there. Comes back to the trend line again here, but again, that signal bar is not good enough, and that kind of takes you into 230. If this would have been a bullish bar here, I would say you could go long right there maybe. You still have this trend line to contend with, but with this big of an overshoot, and I'm pretty sure that's an overshoot, if you try to make this fit, it just doesn't do it. You can see there, we weren't getting anywhere near the midline. None of it makes sense. So it's in my opinion, it's probably, and you can see that where anytime the bars don't overlap, and that's a little gap right there, and that generally means a line comes across there, and you see it fits real well, and that fits as a midline. So this is an overshoot. I think I left it like I originally drew it, or I think the chart was still looking at it. That's how I originally drew it. But I believe the new line is right there. I think it's a 2-tiered channel, and then you just get a minor overshoot, which leads to a reversal. So anyway, there it is. A lot of good trades there. A few second entries, easy right off the key entry point. Of course, you have to draw these short-term key entry points, and some people will send me their chart. They won't have any of this on here, and they'll have some huge chart where the price action only came back to the trend line once or twice the whole day. Well, you're not going to be able to trade that. You've got to get in there and draw the more micro short-term stuff, because that's what's keeping you on the right side. And you can clearly see, just as an example, you got this short-term channel, you get a break, new low, and then you end up getting another channel, break, new low. Then you got the gray channel working up, break, runs to a new high, and actually starts another channel up. It's running up. Now this one just reversed, but it ends up attempting to retest the highs, but this one's a little different. We never retested the highs. But what I think it is you got one leg up, and this was the second leg up that just, because it was such a bullish day, it kind of caught and continued going higher. And then finally when the momentum ran out, it just reversed. And right here, this is profit taken right here. Early on, people are hoping this is just another correction that's going to go higher, and then all of a sudden they realize it's not, and they all start running for the woods, and that's why this thing, they panic, and then the selling runs out, and that's probably why we get the overshoot, because there's panic going on. And then it hits a place back down here where people have been buying before, and there's probably still orders, and some buying comes in. Next thing you know, the panic subsides, and people get their head back and say, "Oh, we overdid it here. It's going to go higher," and they start buying again. And that's kind of what happens. So unless there's some kind of little news item, something that happened, most likely this is just panic selling right here. People profit taking, and everybody starts taking profits, and then it just starts. Plus, we've made a new high, so there's probably people looking to fade that new high and go short, and boom, it's just rocketing down. And then they tried to recover it, and boom, it sold off hard again. And again, people start panicking. This is probably at 3 o'clock when people are getting out too, and then it rallies back. And so a lot of mixed trading in here, but this is all uphill today. So really good trading day, really. So anyway, I think that's going to do it for today, and it's going to do it for the week. we'll be back Monday, but I'm going to wrap it up for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.